Hi, I'm Vic Perri and welcome to Face to Face, and my guests tonight are James McKenzie and Jackie Brown from In Your Face on 3CR. Now, that's a show that's been going on for a while, isn't it?
11 years, and we've been doing it together for 6, and we haven't really missed a week at all apart from a couple here and there, so yeah, a bit of a...
It's a long time, every week. And do you ever sort of think, oh, I'm not going to go in tonight, I had enough, that's it?
No, I think you look forward to it. It's, Friday afternoon, so getting towards the end of the week, if you've been at work all week, it's kind of a nice ritual to finish it off, and we go to the pub afterwards with some friends and have a few beers, and no, I wouldn't miss it for anything.
So it's a bit of a party on one sense, in the sense that you've got these bands coming in performing live on the show before us, Burning Vinyl, and the two shows are good mates, so you sort of have a bit of a gig thing happening, and you've got the build up to our show, which really focuses on queer issues and current affairs. So yeah, we bridge that gap, I guess, between queer issues and broader political issues.
And we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about sort of where you see your place in the community. But give us a little bit about your backgrounds. Have you been doing radio for a long time?
I originally trained at 2XX in Canberra, which is very similar to 3CR, another community radio station, now FM but was AM in those days. And so I did radio training there and programmed there. And then I also moved to Perth after that and did some stuff at RTR FM, which is another community radio station but probably more like sort of Triple R here. And then I moved to Melbourne and started volunteering at 3CR, and one of the workers at 3CR sort of said, hey, we need someone to, work on this queer issues show, and James was doing the show at the time, and so we hooked up together.
All right, and your experience? What have you
Well, I did journalism at RMIT, and one of my radio teachers told me that my voice would never be good enough to do radio, so I sort of thought, I really love radio, really love it, but, oh well. So I sort of went onto this journey into the community sector, really working at the AIDS Council, Gay Men's Health Centre, and that was really full on, working in the people living with HIV/AIDS program, and I was a wee slip of a thing of 21.
Yeah.
And then I left that, and years later I ended up working for the Gay Press in Ireland, in Dublin, for a short time as a freelancer for them. Came back, stayed in the community sector, and then got a job with Brother Sister, the sadly now finished finito paper.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, there's the Beat News, owned by the guy that used to own Brother Sister.
Yeah.
Then went across to MSO and was working for both of them, actually, MSO and
Same
Brother
time?
Sister. Yeah, same time. And then it all collapsed with satellite, and NCB got set up, and stayed there for a little while, realised it wasn't for me, and started doing a national program at 3CR called Stick Together, all about industrial issues, which goes to community stations on the satellite network. So, yeah, I've sort of had bits and pieces of media for about 12 years.
And what's the format? I mean, it's called In Your Face, and it runs every Friday. What's the actual format of the show? What do you do on the program?
Well, it's in the current affairs time slot, so it is supposed to be current affairs based, but the current affairs that we do is specifically queer issues. Not always exclusively, but pretty much. So we try and do 4 interviews on the show, and because the program's an hour and a half, we do maybe 10 to 15 minute interviews, so get to have quite in-depth interviews, and in between times we play music, chat, talk about current news like international, local, national queer news, talk about politics, talk about anything really.
Have you been do you get calls from people? People call in?
Sometimes. We got one yesterday, actually.
Yeah,
that woman, she loved our music and she wanted to give us some info about a gig, yeah?
Yeah, so it's nice when people do call in. Sometimes no one calls and you kind of wonder if anyone's listening.
I know the feeling, yeah.
But we do get, and when radiothon's on, when you're actually trying to raise money on air, you get people calling that you don't know and they're complete strangers and they might live out in the suburbs. So that's the most gratifying, I think, for people to ring up and go, hey, your show really means something to me. I really like it.
Or $100 as they sometimes do. But we got flowers on Valentine's Day,
that's true.
actually, and it was from someone that we didn't know. And he wasn't particularly interested in talking to us or anything. He just goes to me, "Oh, are you James?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, this is for you and Jackie. I love your show," and gave me a bucket of flowers and didn't really want to sort of hang around and chat, but was just like...
This is during, while you were on air?
Just before, a couple of hours
Okay.
before, you know.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day, here you go.
Yeah.
And he's moving off, and I'm like, "But what's your name?" He's like, "Oh, Patrick," and he was at the door. So that was pretty special.
Oh, nice. So, thinking about the guests that you've had, then who's been the most controversial? Who's that been on that you've thought, oh my God, what a mistake? You know,
Oh.
we're going to get sacked for this. You know.
God, there's so many actually.
Yeah, people aren't that controversial in the sense that it's not like they say things completely different to what we expect. I mean, normally you relate quite well to the guests that you have on, and it's pretty complimentary and interactive. So I can't think of anyone that we've had a big
Oh, the penis
argument with.
scarification people, that was pretty full on.
Yeah,
though.
that was pretty interesting.
Which one?
We did an interview with this couple that was really into penis scarification and using a needle to draw blood on the tip of the penis. And so we're having a discussion with them. And about 5 minutes into the interview, I said, "So how do you keep it safe?" And their response was, "Oh, it's not safe at all." And I could just see our sort of, radio careers sort of
Yeah.
crumbling away before us. And then the woman pipes up and she goes, "But we're in a monogamous relationship, so it's completely safe for us. But if you're not in a monogamous relationship and have that trust and that negotiation, then don't do it." So it was sort of like a disaster salvage by the guest, you know.
Oh, yeah, so they obviously knew what you were thinking, so...
Oh, yeah, well,
so
that
it's
basis
something-
just dropped. It was like, oh, my God, you know.
So this is something obviously they do just between them.
Yeah.
One other guest that we had who actually is completely straight, well, as far as we know, and that's Jane Badler,
yes.
who's a pianist, and she used to be Diana in the series V. Do you remember V?
I didn't watch
From
that.
the
like-
80s.
It was
I know
like
a lot of our
a
audience probably
sci-fi
did.
series,
Yeah.
about lizard people and
She ate the rat, you know.
Our floor manager knows V, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so James Scott, through some coincidence, sort of got
She's
onto
here
her.
in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. She's married to some stockbroker or something, isn't
Yeah.
she? In Toorak, yeah.
It was kind of a big build-up because, we were really looking forward to getting on. One week she couldn't, and then it kept going on and building up, and finally she came on. So that was kind of a bit kooky.
So, yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And then there were Nina Hagen's really sort of out there and spacing
I remember
friends.
her.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Nina Hagen is a Hare Krishna now, or really into Hare Krishna. And there's this guy called Lokanunda, who's a performer here in Melbourne, that's a good mate of hers, and he was going to Belgium and Germany and Holland to go on tour with her. So he came on the show and brought some of Nina's friends who were really into aliens and really into
God.
alien abductions and really into Hare Krishna as well.
That would have been hilarious.
That was pretty full on.
I remember I was into Nina Hagen in the early 80s, and she was an opera singer too before that.
Yeah, she's
before
still
she got
going.
into
She
pop.
releases albums all the time, and she just reinvents herself. She's a bit of a chameleon, I think.
Yeah.
Her friends are really trippy.
Yeah.
They're really into alien abductions, yeah.
We might have a program on that, I think. Yeah. I'm sure there are queers out there into alien. If you are, just write to us and tell us about your experience, yeah. Well, tell us about 3CR itself. How long has the station been going for?
26.
Yeah, we had our big 25th anniversary party last year. So, yeah, this is the 26th year, and, it's community radio, very grassroots. We don't get any money from the government, don't get any sponsorship, just all, listeners, sponsors, really, people that give money, a bit of grant money we get here and there, and raising money with radiothons. So
Subscription?
Oh yeah, we've got
Yeah.
subscribers,
As well, yeah.
but we're really committed to giving voices to groups that you don't hear in the mainstream. So the whole station was set up, if you like, to be an alternative to the mainstream media, particularly the media monopolies of the Murdochs, say, or the Fairfaxes of this world. So it's really committed to giving gays and lesbians, for example, a voice on air, Aboriginals, women, people from a non-English speaking background. Yeah, it's really all about challenging the mainstream. So
And that has worked well over the
I think
years?
so. It's got 500 programmers, 500 volunteers.
So
It's
what-
amazing.
Yeah, that is. So what other programs? So you mentioned Aboriginal programs.
Yep.
Even other are there other sort of culturally diverse programs?
yeah,
as
every
well?
night between 6
Between 6 and 10 you've
6
got...
and 10 or 11 pretty much. It's it's non-English language programs. So, you know, that's a huge range from all different ethnicities. There's about 4 Indigenous programs, I think.
Probably more,
That's
I would
not
say,
bad.
like the Koori Survival Show, Koori Youth, not another Koori show. We've got an Aboriginal football show.
Obituary chat.
Yeah, we've got a pet and animal welfare show where people can ring up and actually get advice from a vet. Like they might not be able to afford to take their dog to the vet, but they can ring up.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've got like our own version of Hugh Worth, I suppose.
Yeah, so everything is on Sunday. There's arts programs like feminist arts programs.
Dykes on Mics.
Curtain Up,
I
which
was
is a
just
theatre
thinking-
program that's been on for about 20 years. Those guys are amazing.
Yeah. Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking of the other program, Dykes and Mice. When's that on?
Sundays 3 till 4 in the Arvo. Yeah.
They've been going for a while too.
They've been going years. They've been going about 7 years, I think.
Yeah, probably 7 or 8 now. Yeah.
Is that they only cover lesbian issues, or do they a bit broader too? Or
Pretty much.
Pretty
I mean,
much.
they will have a guy on the show every now and then. Like they're not sort of, you know,
The
can't
token male.
possibly talk to a
And they
male.
interview Ned as well
Yeah, and
from
they
time
play,
to time.
you know, boy music and stuff if they feel like it. But they do try and just have Dykes on air. Yeah.
which I suppose it's fair enough because it's not as I mean, how many programs are there devoted to lesbian issues? So
Yeah.
you've got to have one. But
And
like,
Yeah,
until
exactly.
Joy came along, they would have been the only one in Victoria. You know.
which isn't much. No,
Yeah.
is it? Yeah. What sort of music do you play?
We're very eclectic.
Yeah, just, I mean, mainly stuff out of our own collections rather than 3CR. We play all kinds of different stuff. I mean, 3CR's got a charter to play at least 55% Australian content.
But we don't meet that, actually.
Well, you shouldn't say that. We try to.
We got 18% for one show.
Yeah, but we kind of play
Do
whatever.
you get told off? Yeah.
No, not really.
Not
no.
really, but it's good. It is good. I mean, I love supporting local music. I mean, I guess into local sort of pop electronica stuff. Like I really like Architecture in Helsinki and 99 and Letraset and bands like that. And I also like overseas, or Biff Tech I really like too, and overseas chick music like Chicks on Speed.
Yeah.
But I also like local kind of rock and independent stuff, and James likes
so
all kinds of
people
stuff.
want to listen to that sort of stuff. That's the show. You're watching Face to Face, and don't go away. We'll be back straight after this short break. And welcome back to Face, and I'm Vic Perri. My guests tonight are James McKenzie and Jackie Brown from 3CR's In Your Face, or In Your Face, isn't it?
In your face!
Do you do that at the start
We
of the
do it
program?
live.
Yeah.
We do it live at the start of the show every week. So depending on how the vocal cords are, it sounds quite different. Yeah.
Does it sound better if you have a drink? Or...
James always does it with another guy, Matt, who does the show before us. So it's there.
He's the singer. So, yeah, and drummer and hairy and out there and feral and...
Oh, okay. Is he a bear?
No, he's not a bear.
He's straight.
Okay.
He's straight, yeah.
Which can still be a bear. But
Straight bear.
Anyway, about the show. So what are some of the issues that you've covered? I mean, 7 years, that's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
What are some of the really juicy ones that
Euthanasia.
have been...
I've done stuff with Philip Nitschke about euthanasia.
All right. Yeah.
Lots of
Have you had
HIV.
him on?
Yeah, he's been on the
Oh,
show.
okay.
Yeah, lots of HIV/AIDS stuff. We
course.
probably touch on
Yeah.
HIV/AIDS
Safe
all the
sex,
time.
safe drug use. We were talking about crystal meth recently, and
How it makes
safe
people
use of
aggressive
that.
bottoms. We talked about that.
Aggressive bottoms.
Apparently, yeah. That's what our guest was telling us anyway. He's a doctor, so yeah. So we get into the issues.
As in people who demand or are active.
just people who are more into anal sex as a consequence of taking crystal meth, the drug.
yeah.
And apparently it makes bottoms more aggressive sometimes,
Yeah,
we've been
alright.
told. Anyway, so we did an interview about that.
And was he
Live.
aggressive on the program?
No, not at all.
He
Not at
wasn't,
all.
he wasn't taking the time. What else?
we did people from Fresh, which is a group for young people with HIV/AIDS, both straight and gay. We talked to recently the co-convener of Maybe Baby, which is the new group here in Melbourne for prospective gay and lesbian parents.
Another group.
There's a few actually. It's one of those things that's taking off. Like people talk about there being a bit of a baby boom.
It's huge. Last couple of years.
Yeah,
few years.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
I wonder, like in 20 years' time, to talk to these kids, it's going to be fascinating, isn't it?
All these kids out there, they're going to be, adults that,
Yeah,
that have
totally.
these gay, same-sex parents.
Interesting scenario.
And how does that, you know, and you're sort of thinking widely on the impact on society.
Yeah.
You know, what are the ramifications there? Yeah.
And we discuss issues a lot as well, like the war we've been talking about heaps.
I was going to ask you about the war.
Yeah.
We had Adam Carr and Chris Gill on last week talk about the war and the implications for gays and lesbians over there, but as well as what's been happening here. So have you two been a part of the Victorian Peace Network and been out there protesting and doing that sort of stuff?
I've been going to all the peace rallies, and a friend of mine who's a DJ has been helping organise these events at Bar Nancy, which is kind of like drinking for peace. So they've had 2 fundraisers where they've raised over $800 at each one. We've had Graham Stevens on our program.
Everyone loves Graham because he's so out there.
Yeah, so we've just been trying to promote queer events for peace, and also the people talking to us about the queer convergence they had at the last peace rally, which was basically just getting queer people to march together, and that was organised
at the rally.
And that was organised by Janelle Davey.
Is that a big Janelle?
Queer officer at RMIT.
Yep. So I don't think she's there anymore. But anyway, is it a huge? When you look at the rest of the march, is it quite a sizable group? Do you stand out?
Not really, but there's queers everywhere at rallies, so you might not necessarily see us behind the banner with, like, you know, a group of RMIT students, for example, because they're all pretty young, you know, but you see queers sprinkled throughout the whole rally, you know, like,
Well, that's right. Well, we know we're everywhere.
We know we're everywhere, yeah.
You know. Now, what about, you mentioned the radiothon before, and it's a way that 3CR basically survives. You've got one coming up?
Yeah, it comes up in June for 2 weeks, and last year 3CR's target was about $125,000.
Every show has a target as well. So, like, our target's usually about $900 or $800. Some shows have like a $3,000 target. Some have $300.
So when you look at individual shows, it doesn't sound too much, does it, I suppose?
It can be a hard slog, though, can't it?
Totally.
Even for us to raise $800, it's a hard slog.
And how does it work?
Well, you try and raise most of your money before you go on air. Like, you don't depend on going on air and the phone's going crazy. And, you know, it doesn't work like that, especially not in community radio. So, for the last few years, we have a fundraiser at Q&A at the Builders Arms. So we just organise with the management, who we're kind of friends with, to have a gold coin donation. So everyone going to Q&A gives us a donation, and that goes to our radiothon show. And
they are so supportive of our show, actually. Q&A.
So that gives us maybe $300, $400 to start off with, and then
one night.
And then we try and get money in from other friends and work people and other sources before we go on air. So then when we have our radiothon show, we might only have to get, you know,
$300 on air
or something.
So people will know, like, when June comes, people will know
that's the radiothon at 3CR.
Things are going to be happening, and
Well, there's always a big build-up, and I guess the last couple of years it's really become a festival. Like, so many shows now realise that in order to reach their target, they're going to have to put an event on before their radiothon show. So there's heaps of shows that do, like, you know, benefits at pubs where bands will perform, you know, for free, or people do comedy or whatever. So increasingly, the 3CR Radiothon has become a festival, and I reckon it'll be called a festival, you know, officially, maybe at some point in the future, because it's getting really big. Yeah.
We should mention the frequency, actually. People think 3CR, 3CR, where are you? And it's AM.
AM, yeah.
So, which
855.
might be a bit sort of, you know, people think, oh, AM. You know, I haven't heard AM for years.
It's a back ear sound. Think of a matte photo compared to a glossy
It's mono
photo.
and it's 855 and it's got these sort of black spots, so if you're driving down Smith Street you get really bad reception because the tram lines completely interfere
What
with...
was the number again?
855 AM.
855.
And Fitzroy is the worst place to listen to 3CR, even though the station's in Fitzroy. Yeah.
And what about radio as a medium? How effective do you think your show has been? You know, you've covered issues, so how effective has it been in addressing those issues? Has anything wonderful come of it, or...?
Well, I guess it's a bit hard to measure, but you do. I mean, we do get feedback from people that you randomly meet who say, I listen to your show and I really like it. And I guess, you know, it's to give queer people a voice, but there might not necessarily be queer people only that listen to us. And I think it's really important that straight people feel like queer issues are their issues as well.
We get more feedback from straight people, I think. I think that a lot of our queer listeners aren't necessarily the kinds of people that are going to pick up the phone and say, oh, look, I'm queer and I was listening to your show and I think it's just great. I think that most of our listeners are silent, aren't they, really?
We could relate to that on Ben TV. I've had lots of feedback, and I know other people have, from straight people that watch the program. It's amazing how many there are. So we can't forget that. We should never forget who is actually watching or listening to our meetings.
It's hard to know though, because we don't do ratings. Like 3CR, and I guess 31's the same. We can't afford to do ratings. The whole rating system's set up basically for the advertising side of things anyway, the corporate side of things.
Right.
We don't do the ratings, so we don't know. Although Joy told us that when they were actually doing their research to try and get their licence, that 1% of the gay male population in Melbourne listened to us, and what was it, 1.5% of the lesbian population? But we worked out that was probably a couple of thousand people per week. So at first it was really depressing to think 1%. But then we thought, well, actually, that's quite a few people, isn't it?
It's a lot.
And I think people are very comfortable with radio as a medium because it's so familiar to people. Like everyone grew up listening to radio, and everyone's got crappy car radio in their car, even if they haven't got a stereo. And when we always invite our guests on, they never go, "Oh my God, no, I'd never go on radio." They go, "Yeah, sure." People are just very
amazing,
comfortable
actually.
with it.
Yeah. I mean, we have the lights off. Unlike him, we have like a little spotlight, so it's a bit sort of,
Oh, no one can see you, do they? Yeah. So
But
nice.
the guests can't even see us that well. Yeah, no, we mainly do phone interviews, I think, but we do have people come into the studio. But yeah, you're a bit more removed, I guess, on radio, whereas with TV, you're face to face.
What about outside broadcasts? You do much of that live stuff out there?
We don't.
We don't.
Protest rallies
3CR
or-
does, but we don't. We go to rallies and we'll sometimes, record the speeches, or we'll talk to people, we'll do interviews.
Yeah.
And 3CR does that a lot. And 3CR does special broadcasts. Like last year, they did a special broadcast from the Port Phillip prison, and another one from the Aboriginal Health Service.
Yeah. Part of NAIDOC week.
Yeah.
Yep.
So 3CR does them, but we don't really.
No, we just tend to do just everything pretty much live. In
We hate
in the
editing. We
studio.
absolutely hate editing.
Oh, he doesn't, yeah. No, well, as a program, or as a queer program, where do you see yourselves in? And I'll say the word community, and there's a debate, ongoing debate about the definition of community, whether it exists or not.
We're on the fringe.
What do
aren't
you
we?
think of? Yeah, you're on the fringe.
I think so.
Like, do you believe it exists? Do you think there is a community?
Yes.
Yeah, it is, but
Yeah.
it's very big, and there's a lot of
It's
subcultures
eclectic.
within it.
Yeah, there's lots of communities within the community. So I don't necessarily believe in the gay and lesbian community as this homogeneous sort of community. I think it's got lots of subcultures and lots of communities within it. And I think it's getting bigger, and I think it's getting more diverse.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that, we're pretty much on the fringes of it. I mean, not many people know that our show exists.
Yeah, a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, queer radio or gay and lesbian radio, Joy FM," and we go, "Well, actually, no, 3CR's been doing gay and lesbian radio for years, and they've never known that fact." So,
Could that be just because you haven't sort of publicised or promoted yourself as heavily as? Because you look at the press, and there's lots of advertising around Joy Melbourne. They have lots of functions and parties.
But that's the
and things
press.
like
To basically get advertising, unless you make the news, essentially you've got to pay for it, don't you?
Right.
So if you want to get yourself into the gay press a lot, it would probably help if you were actually buying ads. And we can't afford to do
Can't
that.
afford it.
but 3CR is pretty underground. Like, it's not like that many people really know about it, unless I guess they're part of certain networks.
So you're happy in this situation of being, or do you want to become more famous?
No, not
No.
at all.
because you want to be TV. But
Well, that's why I do community radio, because it's, I mean, you have so much freedom on 3CR. When we program our show, no one tells us you have to play this announcement at 4:15, you have to play this music because it's album of the week, you have to interview this person. I mean, we
we've got
totally...
this company that's paid thousands of dollars, and they want their ad quarter.
Although
past.
3CR, sometimes someone might say, please play that promo about the rally, or please, play that anti-war card or something like that, sure. But yeah, there's no pressure to play that Ford promo at 16 minutes past 4 every Friday.
Nah. All right, well, we have to cut it short there. Sorry about that. Thanks very much for coming in.
Yep,
And it's 885.
Yep.
855.
AM.
Sorry, so
8:55
8:55
on your AM dial. Yeah.
Listen, and every Friday, 4:30 to 6.
No, 4 to 5:30.
Hopeless. 4 to 5:30. Thanks very much. You've been watching Face to Face, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.